Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everybody. Don't let the rain get you down. We are excited to be here today, and we're excited to have this event to dedicate. I think this is long overdue, obviously, for the Wayside signage project here in Pontiac, so we're excited to be here with you this morning. Thank you all for coming out. My name is Brian Yap, and I am the Director of Programs and Operations for Motor City's National Heritage Area. So if you did not know, you are sitting in a National Heritage Area. You're sitting in a space that the National Park Service, through an act of Congress in 1998, deemed to be of national significance because of our automotive and labor heritage story here in Southeast Michigan. So 10,000 square miles of the state, from Kalamazoo to Saginaw to Ypsilanti to Lansing to Detroit, Dearborn, Macomb County, Monroe, and obviously right here in Pontiac, are all part of the Motor City's National Heritage Area. So we preserve and promote automotive and labor history across that region. We make sure that we tell the story of the people and the places and the ideas that made this region so important, that obviously put the world on wheels, that put a man on the moon and changed the way that America lives. So we are excited today to be dedicating one of our really most important projects. I say that because the day I walked into Motor Cities in 2007, somebody said, well, we've got this little sign project that we want you to work on. And here we are 250 signs later celebrating this great installation here. So we have some great partners here to speak to you today. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our true host here, Mayor Water. Mayor.
Welcome this morning, and so happy to see you all on this morning. We're dedicating these Wayside markers. With this addition to our inventory of Wayside markers in the city of Pontiac, we will have a grand total of 55. And we're proud to say that's the largest inventory of any of the cities who are part of this historic team, consortium. So Pontiac is very proud of its legacy and its history in connection with the automobile industry. It started with Chief Pontiac, who gave the name to the car, and Chief Pontiac was the one who originally brought the settlers to this area. And the Wayside markers also celebrate the fact that many of the pioneers in the auto industry started right here in Pontiac. And it follows the history of the automobile industry as well as intervening events during those times. And it brings us to present time. For example, we are the headquarters for GM Powertrain, the worldwide headquarters. And GM Powertrain is where they're doing all the propulsion studies for the way cars will be powered for years to come into the future. Also, Sunday was the kickoff of the M1 Concourse. The grand opening was right there at Woodward and South Boulevard on this magnificent lot that is a rehabilitated former General Motors facility that has now been turned into a thing that is called a very novel concept. It's car condos, which is the base where you can house your classic or antique car, and a place that you can connect with the current industry trends, as well as have it landscaped and have a interior designer come in and design it and host people there. And it will eventually have all those commercial and retail things tied with the auto industry. So that's right there at our southern entry to Pontiac, and it was really quite a grand opening this past Sunday. It's also the beginning of our Pontiac Power Week, which, as you know, now is the way we have deemed Woodward Dream Cruise to come right here to Pontiac. So there are many things in terms of the legacy of Pontiac that, while we celebrate and remember our past history that is connected in these Wayside markers, we're also revving our engines into the future right here in Pontiac. And we don't want to leave our legacy, our history in the rearview engine. We want to carry it with us and have it be a learning experience and a remembering experience for not only citizens of Pontiac, but all those who visit Pontiac. And I see many of you now have the walking map. I'm going to borrow yours for a minute. The walking map and all of these sites where these Wayside markers will be marked on this walking map. So if you want to take time to take a tour throughout Pontiac, and some of these Wayside markers are really at the original site where the industry was born. So we're very proud of that. We're very proud of this day to bring it to Pontiac, and we're very proud for all the partners who are here. Brian, we're very happy to be part of the Motor Cities National Heritage Consortium, and we're also proud to see some visitors, not so visitors, but Colleen Peters, who is here with us, and I'm always so very happy when she visits the city. She has, Pontiac is very much part of her heritage too, as we talk about heritage, and of course, Senator Peters, who has represented us so well and has been such an advocate for the city and for Michigan, who represents us now in the Senate, has a history here in Pontiac. So we're tying things together in many ways, and you're going to hear from a number of the partners who are here. Commissioner Bowman, who represents us now in the County Commission, and also Glenn Konopowski, who heads Main Street. Pontiac is the executive director, who has revived and been a real part of the revitalization of our downtown. Mr. Gay, as well as Brian, and then we have Councilman Kermit Williams from District 7, who is here to represent the City Council. So thank you all for coming. Thank you for being part of this dedication. We would have had you outside, but we're going to do this right here inside, and we hope that you will take the opportunity to visit all the Wayside markers in Pontiac as you have the opportunity. Good morning to you.
Great. Thank you. Well, that intro could not have been any better. I'm actually going to turn it over. So we are, again, excited to have Mrs. Peters here, and I want you to share some words about, of course, your roots here in Pontiac and excitement about this program.
Absolutely. Well, I'm very excited about it, and good morning. I'm short, so I'm going to lean in here. Yeah, I'm very excited about it. I remember meeting Brian at a community event maybe about 3 or 4 years ago when he just started. There was probably just a couple signs in at that point, and you have been very excited about and have been a real advocate for this program ever since. And I'm here on behalf of my husband, of course, Senator Gary Peters, and I know he wishes he could be here this morning. Because he's been excited about this project as well. Of course, autos and fighting for the auto industry has been core to what he's been doing since, particularly since he's been in Congress since 2008, but even when he was in the state Senate during the 90s in representing in Pontiac. Actually, not only was he born in Pontiac, but Pontiac is the one city that he has served in his entire public service, whether he was in the state Senate, in the House of Representatives, or in the U.S. Senate. And so he is a major advocate for Pontiac. And of course, I remind him too, because my family is from Pontiac. My grandparents came here with many Mexicans in the 1920s to work at the Wilson Foundry, in fact. And of course, he was one of the many who died of tuberculosis because of that factory. But there's good news now, of course, happening at that site, which is M1 Concourse. And so for me, it's a full circle moment, really, when I step on that ground and I think about my grandfather. So it's pretty special. So we're so grateful to the county, to the city, and to the Motor City Waysigns for doing this project, because I think it will, if we all work together to really promote it and talk to folks about it and how special it is. There's so many people who have roots here in Pontiac. So we need to make sure that we're sharing this. So thank you.
Thank you. And you mentioned again Oakland County. We absolutely could not have made it this far when you talk about 55 in Pontiac, but if we broaden the lens a little bit more, there are more than 100 in Oakland County. So of the 250 signs across the state, Oakland County has almost half of them here. So it means that your story is very deeply rooted in our story and our intertwined histories. And we're happy to have Commissioner Bowman here to share some thoughts on behalf of Oakland County. So.
Absolutely, and thank you again for allowing me to be here to speak to this partnership. This has been an incredible introduction in terms of signage to the city of Pontiac. And specifically, I take a look at these wonderful signs, and I note how they are progressing in allowing us to set Pontiac as a destination. This is a community that has progressed quite a bit within the last few years. And this project is one of which that helps highlight us as, a definite destination community. There were many partnerships that helped make this project come to fruition, inclusive of Oakland County's partnership. Oakland County Parks was a heavy piece and parcel of this initiative, installing some 34 of these particular signs. Now, I understand this isn't a competition in particular, but we are, the city of Pontiac does host 55 of those signages within the community. And this is an initiative definitely supported by our Oakland County Executive Brooks Patterson, as well as fellow commissioners who have signage within their communities as well. But uniquely, I really look at this as an opportunity again where we can partner both the city, the county, as well as the state to make sure that we highlight the assets of Pontiac itself and make note of its history, and additionally set our course as a destination and not just a community at large. And so I am elated to allow and have the community enjoy these signages, as well as to be able to visit and not just as a walkthrough, but as a destination again. And thank you.
Thank you. So again, the Oakland County Executive's Office as well wanted to make note that they were really driving behind some of the early mapping of the signs and then the concepts of where they could go and how the stories could intertwine. When we introduced this, I remember being at a small community meeting, I believe at a firehouse here, we were talking about what the limitations were, what are the limits of the number. I said, really, you're only limited by the number of stories you can tell, and obviously we got to 55, and I think we probably cut you off when we get to 55. So we are definitely happy that you embrace it in such a way. You say it's not a competition, but I bet this next guy, when I say this again, that you are hosting the most signs out of any city in the state. I got a little woohoo from Glenn, so I think the competition is one, if it were one. But absolutely we could not have done this without the generous financial support and rallying of the Pontiac Downtown Business Association. So when we came on board with them, had a great meeting at a delicious restaurant one night as well, and found out that they were going to be the real sponsors and supporters of quite a few of the signs to see reality. So Glenn, I wanted you to share more about how this has been embraced and what's going on.
Thank you. So I'm Glenn Konopaski, Executive Director for Main Street Pontiac and the Pontiac Downtown Business Association. We're the nonprofit management company running the Main Street program on behalf of the city of Pontiac and partnered with them in the rebuilding of downtown. And regretfully, I'm the only one with notes. But one of the things is our downtown, as well as the rest of the city, is going through huge rejuvenation right now. We've got over $15 million a year being invested in downtown. And that's just, it's 1.1 square miles out of almost 21 square miles in the city, but it's our historic commercial district. And that historic component is very, very important to us. It's all about preserving the history. We've got 7 historic districts within the city for a reason. Oldest inland city in the state of Michigan, and all these other things. But when we look at it from the automotive perspective, when our organization was first approached by Ron Gay to participate in it, as a nonprofit, we never have enough money, right? If you've ever worked in a nonprofit. So we purchased 3, and then we looked at them, and I had to convince a few people that 3 isn't a destination. 3 in a downtown our size isn't enough to make a statement. So we were lucky enough that one of our downtown businesses allowed us to take out a 0% interest loan from the business. And that allowed us to be able to pursue a bunch of other sponsors at $400, almost $400 a sign, to be able to come in and join the program over the next 2 years. So we went to Motor Cities and we said there's going to be 27 in downtown district. City Hall is in our downtown. You'll see 2 beautiful signs on the entrance to either side. The maps that you have show the 25, and regretfully City Hall got hidden behind one of our big art pieces on that map. We had a brand new company laying them out for us this year and it was missed. So lessons learned there. But the other reason we did it is when people come down to visit our downtown, we want them to get to know just who we are. We commonly get called a community, not a downtown. And there's a reason for that because of the amount of outpouring that we get in support. But as they walk through our downtown, we want them to understand who we are, where we came from. When we started doing events in 2011 in downtown, we were getting people coming in and going, I haven't been in downtown in 50 years, in 60 years. So it was incredible the stories that started coming out. The other reason is being a historic preservation organization as well as economic and community development, it's very important to us to educate and to preserve. And when we're talking about education, by having 27 down here, we're now a destination. So we've actually had organizations and schools come down and use these historic wayside markers as an educational tool, not only on the city of Pontiac, but of the automotive industry and the importance that Pontiac has played in putting the world on wheels. if you go back in the history, you'll see that our wagon and our wheel companies merged in order to go through a very interesting migration pattern, and of course, the outcome, the most obvious outcome, is our namesake. So it's a very interesting history, and some of those wagon and wheel companies actually were in our downtown. So we want to make sure that we're able to do that stuff. It also drives the awareness, as you probably heard. We've got Flagstar Strand Theater opening later this year. We've got Pontiac Little Art Theater opening later this year. We have an amazing partnership with the Detroit Institute of Arts. And we're rebuilding that brand of a downtown that is a artistic district again. But at the same time, we want to remember who we are. And when we get into that, it comes down to a lot of thanks, because there's a lot of components to this. And I want to say, of course, thank you to Brian and Motor Cities for providing the vehicle that allowed us to remind everyone where we've come from the city. I mean, when you look back into the 1800s with those wagon and wheel companies, we all know they never thought of a car. But those wheel rims, I mean, we've got, how many cars do we have with wheel rims on them that are in our classic cars that are saved in the city of Pontiac and in the region? And then, of course, Ron Gay to my left. Without Ron's leadership and dedication, because this was a 4-year process from us, from when we started through collecting all the massive stories, design, building, installation, and he's been amazing to work with, and we want to make sure that Ron gets recognized for all the efforts, because without Ron's leadership, the city wouldn't have these 55 signs right now. So I really want to welcome him, thank him for that. We also need to thank Oakland County Pioneer Historical Society. They're the ones who actually keep all the archival history on the region. And what's really important with that is, without their resource, and they're another nonprofit that donated to support the project, we wouldn't have been able to go back 100 years in our history or more to be able to pull out some of these key details that we have on these signs. So they were critical. I want to call out to Kathy Hank as well from the Hank Studio. She actually chairs our design committee that ensures that our historic downtown and anything you see as the public when you come down to visit is correct for our historic nature in the city. She also has been protecting our downtown for almost 25 years to make sure that it's respected and dedicated. And as a volunteer, she's always in the background. But she's the one who helped to ensure that downtown had the proper placement and installation sites for 25 out of those 27 markers. And then, of course, Oakland County, Kristen Wolfang was one of our lead contacts for the deployment and installations of everything, which was amazing. We worked with her trying to get the Clinton River Trail connected into downtown, and the amazing work going on that. And of course, we've got other partners. It's phenomenal what the volunteers are doing in this city to be able to move us forward and remind us. And of course, Nancy Thompson from Oakland County. And our team of volunteers, that's the lifeblood of not only this project, but the revitalization of everything we do in downtown. That's over 65,000 hours in just the last 5 years. So it's an amazing amount of dedication that the people of this city are bringing to help us bring everything back. And then just one last comment, please take a moment when you see not when you see all the vehicles, because the rain kind of delayed that, but I know we at least have 172 GTO sitting up there when I came in earlier. The signs are amazing to remind you, but you have to remember the heritage, and the heritage is the cars. So the classic car owners who are taking their time to invest in protecting these key assets for the city is huge. And if you guys just want to raise your hands, thank these guys, because I know we've got a few of you guys out there. These are the guys that are actually protecting the heritage. And with that, Brian, I'll turn it back.
Absolutely. No, you covered the bases. I think the summary of that is, I get the opportunity to work across the state with different automotive communities, as I've said before. So if it's Ypsilanti, if it's Dearborn, if it's Detroit, if it's Lansing. And the thing that's common with all of them, and that's present here today, is there's always great people and passion for what they're doing, and that's what binds them all together. So every community has a story, and yours has obviously been documented well today, but all of those people you mentioned, all these people who are sharing the panel here today, share that same passion for this story. So we appreciate you. We could not do it, literally could not do it without you. We are some of our projects, so thanking Motor Cities as a vehicle. We have to thank you for being the ones who really take that and drive it forward. With that being said, so the question is sort of next steps. A lot of people have asked us along the way, well, what happens now that we've got 250 across the state and 120 in Oakland County and 55 in Pontiac? And you've heard a little taste of it. Mapping is key, so we're working right now digitally with our web designer on, and Oakland County has helped us out with that even now. To map all of the signs so that they have good GIS coordinates and people can use them, whether they're on a smartphone, a tablet, on their laptop, to plan their visits around the Wayside. So many have called me and says, can you tell me where all the signs are? So no, just hold on, you'll find out. The other part of it is education. You mentioned that again. So we want to plan opportunities for people to get out and explore and learn more about their community. I was doing an interview just earlier and it said, isn't that one of the real values of this? And yes, it is. It is education for residents and education for visitors. You're hosting the biggest single day automotive related event in the world. And imagine how many visitors are coming to your city for the first time and stepping back and say, I knew, but I didn't know. And now that they read the signs and they realize things about the Rosa Parks bus and things about Pontiac and Oakland Motors. And of course, we'd be remiss in not mentioning they're not represented here today, but the UAW, your local UAW was so very supportive of this process, and their story is also being told throughout a series of the signs as well. Labor is a big part of our conversation. We want to make sure they're recognized. So for us, that's what's next, is our mapping and our educational initiatives. For you, what's next is you get to go out and you get to explore and you get to enjoy the signage in your city and in your community, and you get back to us and let us know how that's going. With that being said, if there are any questions, anybody like to throw at us? Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm Jim Larson. I'm the member of the Michigan Wide Trackers All Pontiac Car Club. Mark and Steve and I'm one of 125 members, and we were approached a few years ago about purchasing a sign. I think it's ours.
We were approached from the Historical Society to purchase one of these signs, which is now on the corner of Woodward and Huron Street, representing the wide track theme. Pictures out of the cars, and the information is that it was put on the sign, and it's up on the corner as of now, and that's where we park our 50 plus Pontiacs on Pontiac Power Week this week. So that was, the club purchased us, you know, as a group. So we're trying to help out too. Thank you.
No, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. No, your story is. Thank you. You're absolutely very right. That story has definitely resonated across the region, and like Glenn went over, it's a sum of all of these partners. There were, more than 100 partners who contributed to purchasing the signs in one form or the other. Many of the signs were piecemeal together, where a person wrote a $50 check, a $20 check, and you put it all together, and you were able to purchase it. So we appreciated all those little bits and pieces. Absolutely. Thank you.
Chuck Johnson here. The downtown situation that you spoke about. My question is very important. How do you plan on dealing with the vagrancy on the streets downtown? Just to give you an example, my wife and I, let's say we're walking down the street to visit the Strand Theater, or maybe looking for somewhere to have dinner. Some guy runs up to you, you don't know me, what's gonna happen. He asks you for a cigarette, $1, or whatever the case may be. How do you plan on dealing with that situation?
Hi, Chuck. Yes, that is an issue that urban communities across the country deal with, no less Pontiac. One of the things that is important as we invite visitors, and also for the citizens of Pontiac, is the safety of the community. And we're proud to say that the strides that we have made with the Sheriff's Department toward making this a safer community. Our crime statistics are down 37%, and Sheriff Bouchard will also ditto this, 37% in the last 2 years. That's tremendous strides. And I'm very proud of the partnership we have with the Sheriff's Department, as well as with our Downtown Association and others, because I want to live in a safe community. I owe that to our citizens who also live in a safe community, and we want our visitors and employees and others to know that Pontiac is a safer community. So our crime statistics as of this year are the same and equitable to any other of the cities in Oakland County. Okay, that's something that's going on. So also the vagrancy is an issue of some of the mental health problems that we have and not being well treated in our communities. It's also, this is part of a larger problem overall. And also the fact that we're doing and we're making strides in terms of helping with our workforce development, So that's also an issue, and we're dealing with all of those while we're also celebrating and having these kind of events. We're also dealing with those very little urban problems. So that's very much on my agenda as we move forward, Chuck, and I know on yours too. I'm glad you asked that question because it gives us a chance to address what's going on in a broader sense. Thank you.
And I just want to follow up, Mayor, our crime in downtown since the sheriff came in 2011 is actually down over 50%, and we're one of the safest downtowns in the region. We have months where we have literally 8 issues in the entire month. And if you come to our Wednesday meetings, we actually show the stats for the city as well as the downtown every third Wednesday of the month. And we share those because it is an ongoing concern, and we bring the sheriff in, and the sheriff is very open to speaking to the public on those things. But we're working with the Homeless Alliance and a bunch of other organizations behind the scenes to address those too. Thank you.
Yes.
I would hope that we would have, for those of us who are older and somewhat technically challenged when it comes to the cell phones and so forth, it might be nice to have something, not to, cast any dispersions on Canvas Pontiac, but it would be nice to have an exclusive Wayside markers map for those of us who are older.
And
But-
Mark, we actually, Brian and I already discussed it. We're gonna be doing a fundraiser because they've got a grant program and we'll work with the city to be able to make a separate map. So Brian just let us know about that new grant program to be able to go towards the marketing of a new brochure for that. So
Well, Pontiac is number one, and we really need to spread that word.
I agree.
Rub it in their face.
Okay. But that's not the main reason that I stood up here. There is a museum of Pontiac literature, documentation, memorabilia, and cars, like over 50 of them, that was the hobby of a gearhead and his very understanding wife, Tim Dye and Penny. He was from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, and had an extraordinary garage, but felt that he should share it. And so years ago, he came to Pontiac, and it was like running into a brick wall. He wanted to bring the museum to Pontiac, and it was like talking to a wall. So he went to Pontiac, Illinois, and Pontiac, Illinois said, this is a great opportunity. And so Tim, the city fathers there, gave him the use of an old department store of about 10,000 square feet, where he can put only about 20% of his cars, but it's a magnificent display and library, research center, and it's also where the Pontiac magazine, Smoke Signals for the Pontiac Club, is produced. He's the editor of that magazine as well. There is an opportunity because of the inability of Pontiac, Illinois to really support, or they're not wishing to really support the Pontiac Museum. There's the possibility that the Pontiac Museum could come to Pontiac, Michigan, where it really belongs. And so I just want to say, I think it would take about $50,000 to get him to bring it here. We already have a possible 54,000 square foot facility that would be quite ideal for it. So if you hear more about this in the future, if it begins to develop, I would hope that you would all get behind it, because Pontiac, Michigan today has proven it deserves the museum.
And Mark, thank you. So So there is a group moving forward. We've got a meeting in a few weeks with the museum owner, and we're starting to put the network together to be able to support the move. And it's very excited. So when you see the press releases come out, we will be looking for support, but we'll know in a few weeks. But we're definitely moving forward to bring the museum home where it belongs.
Hi, I just want to thank everybody. I'm from 594 Retirees. We're the truck plant that closed down. And I'm so grateful for Ron for digging and finding us. And we resigned at 653 Union Hall, finding our local retirees so that we could do a couple signs also, so we could tell our history. So I'm just so excited and thankful for everybody.
Graphic artist. I'm also on the board of Oakland County Pioneer and Historical Society. I would like to extend an invitation to you. If you have any interest in doing research in Pontiac, please come down to Pine Grove, come to the Carriage House. We have librarians and researchers that are more than happy to help you do research in Pontiac, in Oakland County, because in 1874, the Oakland County Pioneer Society was formed to save and preserve the history of Oakland County. So if you have any questions, come see us. Thank you.
And you're right by the Wisner Center.
Well, Pine Grove is Moses Wisner's home. We are next door to the old Wisner School, which is now Wisner LLC.
It's a fascinating tour as well, so if you get a chance to go. So don't want to miss out on hearing from our councilman here, so Mr. Williams.
Well, thank you. I mean, everything has almost been said today, but the one thing that these signs represent is connectivity. I had the pleasure of meeting a father of 2 children right outside City Hall looking at one of these way markers. And every week he brings his family through Pontiac to look at the signs in the community. And so he has turned these way marker signs into a family experience. And so when we can bring families together, because General Motors, UAW, all of these people brought the families here to Pontiac in the first place. And so because we are populated off of the backs of Generous Motors and other things that happen with our automotive history, it's so amazing to see now families riding bikes through the Clinton River Trail to come down here and see the way markers that are here. So only in Pontiac can we bring automotives and bicycles together to make sure, and with Glenn talking about Healthy Pontiac has a walking tour of downtown, and the way markers are part of that tour also. So now you take automotives, bicycles, and pedestrian traffic, move it all together and make one city. And that represents something special in the community, because it's not just about cars, but cars bring people together. And so I want to thank the Motor Cities, the Heritage Foundation, Oakland County, everybody who helped put this together, Senator Peters and his office for making this exceptional. The mayor, I know she had to leave, but this is one of the bright spots, because these markers will help us make our next 150 years in Pontiac. So I have to thank everybody for coming, and I did want to welcome you, because on behalf of the City Council, City Hall happens to be in my district, so they let me talk today. So I appreciate you for listening, but this is so tremendous, and so maybe we have a contest of everybody taking a picture in front of a way marker and see who can get to the 55 the fastest. So thank you very much.
Challenge. And I think we've obviously used his name and made allusion to him throughout the entire presentation, but we definitely would like to hear from your local champion. And every city has one, but I haven't met many like this gentleman here, who's really taking it on his back and is doing it for the love of his community and his city. So Ron Gay, definitely share some words with us.
Thank you. I'm a resident here for 30 years now. A person that's conspicuously absent today is Nancy Thompson. And she's the person who got me involved in this project. And I was very reluctant. It took me a year and a half before I decided to actually take part. And I really didn't understand what the project was about that year and a half. And that's why it took me so long. And once I got on board, I was told, no offense taken, it was only 2 months left to get signs Well, 3 years later, the project came to
No
an end.
pressure.
So I think we have like 28 brands, Mark, is that what the total came to of vehicles that were manufactured in the city of Pontiac? Pontiac is a small city, it's smaller than Flint, it's smaller than Detroit, obviously. I think from my research that Pontiac has more history here in the automotive vehicle business than any other city in the country. It's very concentrated, and it started way back before the Civil War. So we have that to be proud of. But Nancy Thompson, she is the glue that held this project together. She took these signs home with her on the weekends and did things she did not get paid for. And so we need to thank her for that. I'm also a Southerner once removed. My family came here after traveling for about 8 years throughout the country with heavy infrastructural concrete projects, and they landed here in Pontiac, and my father started a business here. I have a friend here whose father was in the air freight business for the automotive company. We have car collectors represented here. We have the local union representatives here and Clinton River Trail people. So it was a great, great community effort, and it's just an example of what we can do when we come together. And we need to look to 2018 when we celebrate our bicentennial. And I'd really like to see Pontiac celebrate that, because we've never celebrated a centennial or other celebration of our actual founding. We've celebrated the centennial of the incorporation of the city and the subsequent centennial of that, but never of the actual founding in 1818. So I really look forward to doing that. I'm not saying I'm spearheading it, I'm just saying.
It sounds like it.
the city.
So thank you all for coming. I appreciate your efforts, and it's really been a successful project.
Thank you. Thank you all. And with that, we're going to wrap up the formal press event. We'll be around for questions if anybody has any further. I might want to get a picture of them together, but thanks a lot.
I'll bet this is a 1997 because it says 1997 on the side.
Gives it away, doesn't it?
Very observant.
Isn't he?
It's funny how many people will walk up and ask us what year it is.
Now, did I hear you say that you have a placard up someplace and you guys are meeting near that placard this year?
Yeah, we supported the efforts to get that put in, and we're kind of like Johnny come latelys with the group, but they've been trying to do something like in support of that for some time. So it's nice that it all came together. And I believe it's right at the corner of Woodward and Huron.
And sir, do you have a name?
My name is Tim Andrews. This is my lovely bride, Pamela.
Hi, guys. And she's a quiet one.
Well, she's
He's the factual one.
She's giving me enough rope right now.
Tim?
How long have you owned this car?
We've owned the car for 5 years. We found it at a dealership out in near Denver, Colorado, and fell in love with it over the internet, and decided to buy it and have it shipped to us.
Now, is this the only classic you have?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. This is a 1979 Trans Am 10th anniversary edition. So it's got a lot of special features. The biggest bird on the hood actually comes out over onto the fenders. The wheels are unique. Came with every option Pontiac offered, including four-wheel disc brakes, stereo, 8-track, radial tune suspension. Big inventions for 1979.
Now your organization. Can you tell me a little bit about that? The White Trackers.
The White Trackers, Michigan White Trackers, meet at Nolly's in Lake Orion once a month, second Saturday every month. And we just have a traditional meeting, meal, and we're accepting members. So we have a website, whitetrackers.org, I believe. Can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, just check us out.
wife and I went on our honeymoon in this car. We brought our first daughter home from the hospital in this car. It's a family member.
Yes, it is. So how much money have you had to put into it?
Total, including the purchase of the car back in 1976, about $12,000.
Okay, not bad at all.
And it's insured for more than that.
So is this your only classic vehicle you have?
Yeah. Yeah, that's one all I can do. I don't see, some of these guys have 3 or 4 of them. I got one, that's all I'm going to squeeze out.
So what made you go with a Pontiac?
My father worked at Pontiac Engineering since 1958, so that's all we knew was Pontiac. Dad always had Pontiacs, we always worked on Pontiac. And my 3 oldest brothers all had Pontiacs. It seemed like that's what I was supposed to get, was a Pontiac. This is my second car. My first car was a Pontiac Granville. And I had that for a year, and then I found this and bought it. I like Pontiac. I like working on it.
So it's really a part of not only history, but the family as well?
Of my family, yeah, like I say, if I didn't know the answer, my dad already knew the answer. So it was, Dad was always there to help.
Well, great. Thank you for sharing.
You have a nice day.
That's it.